Title: The Carpenter's Promise, one-line theme. American carpenter battles illness while teaching his young son the dignity of honest work, love, and faith before leaving behind a legacy that changes the town forever. His calloused hands moved carefully as he sanded the edge of a cedar rocking chair, a commission for a young couple expecting their first child. Tom had learned carpentry from his father, who built the shop with his own hands, teaching Tom that every piece of wood held a story if one listened closely enough. Tom's young son, Caleb, 9, sat nearby on a stool, legs swinging, eyes wide with curiosity as he watched his father work, asking questions about every tool, every joint, every piece of wood. Caleb learned to sweep sawdust into neat piles hand, his father nails and sand edges, with small careful strokes, while Tom told stories about each piece they built: a kitchen table for a widow who wanted a place for her grandchildren to gather, a toy chest for a family who had just adopted a child, a church cross for Pastor Williams after the old one cracked during a storm. Each project was more than wood. It was hope delivered through craftsmanship, kindness, and quiet faith. Tom's health was declining, the illness taking more from him each day, but he hid his pain with gentle smiles, pushing himself to finish the pulpit with Caleb's help. Neighbors stopped by, bringing warm meals, offering to help, and sitting with Tom, sharing stories from their youth and prayers that felt like soft blankets in the cold, leaving behind a workshop filled with unfinished projects and the scent of cedar that would forever remind Caleb of his father's love. The funeral was held at the church, the pulpit standing strong as the pastor spoke of Tom's faith, kindness, and dedication to his family and town. Afterward, Caleb returned to the workshop, tears in his eyes, touching the tools his father once held, feeling the weight of both grief and gratitude. Sarah joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder, saying, "Your father would be so proud." With determination, Caleb began sweeping the shop, organizing the tools, and finishing small projects Tom had started, neighbors stopping by to offer help, sharing how Tom's work had touched their lives. The workshop became a place of healing, laughter returning slowly as Caleb learned to plane wood on his own, each stroke guided by memories of Tom's steady hands. One summer day, Caleb finished building a small rocking chair, the same design his father once made, placing it by the porch for Sarah to sit on during warm evenings, the creak of the wood echoing with love. In Haven Springs, the Grady workshop remained a place of hope, faith, and family, where a young boy carried forward his father's promise that through honest work, faith, and love, even the hardest seasons could be faced with courage, ensuring that a father's legacy lived on, one carefully crafted piece at a time. Caleb, now confident with sanding and nailing, helped carve small crosses into the sides of the pulpit, asking Tom about faith, heaven, and why people had to leave. Tom, his breath shallow, explained softly, "Leaving isn't the end, son. It's going home. What we leave behind is what matters." As the pulpit neared completion, Caleb worked beside his father every evening, their laughter and quiet prayers filling the shop, the scent of cedar blending with hope. On Christmas Eve, the town gathered in the small white church, the new pulpit standing strong under the glow of candlelight. Tom, supported by Sarah, walked to the front, placing his hand on the pulpit, whispering, "May this stand as a promise that faith and love are stronger than fear." The congregation stood, tears and smiles mixing in the warm glow, as the choir sang, the pulpit becoming a symbol of Tom's final, faithful gift to Haven Springs. One evening, as the golden sunset poured through the workshop window, Tom taught Caleb how to use a small hand plane, guiding his tiny hands with steady patience. Caleb's laughter filled the shop when the curly wood shavings fell to the floor, his eyes shining with pride as Tom said, "You're a natural, son." But as Caleb celebrated, Tom turned away briefly, a hand pressed to his chest, the cough rattling deeper now. At dinner, Tom's wife, Sarah, watched her husband closely, worry in her eyes, but Tom simply smiled, whispering, "God's not done with me yet." Caleb, noticing his father's tired eyes, promised to help more in the shop, determined to learn every skill, every story, so that even if Tom grew too tired, the workshop would never fall silent, and their family's promise of honest work would remain alive in the heart of Haven Springs. "Why do you rub the wood like that, Daddy?" Caleb asked, watching Tom's strong hands move over the grain. Tom smiled, replying, "Because every piece of wood deserves respect, son, just like people." Lately, Tom had been hiding the cough that rattled in his chest, pushing through the fatigue that pulled at his bones, determined to finish his orders and teach Caleb all he could before his illness took more from him. The doctor's words echoed in his mind, but Tom chose faith over fear, praying each morning in the workshop, asking God for enough time to leave Caleb with lessons that would carry him through a lifetime. Lessons about love, hard work, and hope carved into every piece of wood they shaped together. Paragraph 1. In Haven Springs, Tennessee, where dusty roads led past white-steepled churches and fields of cotton swayed in the breeze, Tom Grady, 42, stood in his workshop, the scent of sawdust and pine heavy in the air. Paragraph 2. As autumn leaves fell across Haven Springs, Tom's workshop became a sanctuary for father and son. Paragraph 3. Winter brought cold winds and bare trees, but inside the Grady workshop, warmth filled the air as Tom and Caleb worked on a special project, a new pulpit for the church, a gift for Christmas Eve service. Paragraph 4. Spring returned, bringing green to Haven Springs. But Tom's strength continued to fade, and one quiet morning, surrounded by Sarah and Caleb, he took his final breath.